230 exclusives with a new one every week when you support The Habit at patreon.com/doseofbuckley. What do BuzzFeed, WatchMojo, and Oscar Schindler have in common? They're all famous for their lists. No, but people love lists. And more so, they love to hate lists. Because opinions are like assholes. And if I told you that I had a ranked list as to those particular reasons, and at number 1 I put everyone's got one, someone would debate that actually number 1 should be they all stink. And so, it's in that spirit that I tell you that Apple Music decided it needed some extra attention and released its list of the 100 best albums of all time. They have the balls to call it our definitive list of the greatest albums ever made. They don't call it what it actually is, which is a survey of a bunch of musicians and experts, which after I saw this list, I'd like to know who those experts were, and more importantly, who thought they were experts in the first place, so they could be dragged into the town square for the flogging they deserve. Perhaps by a woman named Molly? But that's what it is. They asked people like Pharrell and Charli XCX what their favorite albums were, and the result was this list. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I just want to take you through some of the highlights and lowlights, mostly lowlights, of the list. Let's just start right at the top, with the album they've determined is the definitive best of all time. Lauryn Hill's The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Most music critics agree this is a very good album, though I don't know that I've ever seen it at number 1 on an all-time list, which I'm sure is why Apple has put it at number 1 on their list, to differentiate itself from those old fogies over at Rolling Stone, who have previously ranked this album no higher than number 10. She won 5 Grammys for it. It's an album that probably inspired almost every female rap, R&B, and pop artist that came after it, including Dua Lipa, who provides this quote: "Every time you hear it, it feels like the first time, and it touches you in a different way, and meets you at a different point in your life. And as you know, if it's good enough for Dua, it's good enough for me." But maybe now is a good time to ask the question, what makes a great album? Not what's an album that has a few really great songs on it. The entire album is being judged as a whole. It should be something that stood the test of time, to get that cliche out of the way. It should be something that practically insists that you listen to it in full, that you feel like you're missing something by skipping songs or playing them in some random order. It should be something that, when it was released, felt new, like no one but them could have created it, and that every musician wishes they'd created, and that every new musician will spend their career trying to replicate. And when ranking those, you have to ask, did X do that better than Y? And I don't think Apple, or any of these musicians or experts, really asked any of those questions. Because if they did, we wouldn't see things like Taylor Swift's 1989, specifically listing Taylor's version, not the original, her re-recording from last year, ranked at number 18, with Pet Sounds ranked at number 20. The Beach Boys' 11th album is often considered one of the greatest fucking arrangements of music ever pressed to vinyl. A musically and lyrically complex masterpiece of introspective songs that potentially changed music in the late 1960s, revolutionized how music was produced at that time, and it's beaten by the CD that had Shake It Off and Bad Blood on it. An album that we have no idea what its cultural impact will be beyond helping a bunch of sad teen girls feel better about their breakups. It's too new to have inspired any musicians, maybe Olivia Rodrigo, which I would argue is another tick in the negative column for it. If you were going to make an argument that any Taylor album should be on the list, perhaps it would be the Taylor's version of Fearless, her first re-recording, giving the middle finger to Scooter Braun, who refused to sell her back her own library of songs, setting a precedent that musicians can take their own work back, until the record labels all put in clauses in every new artist's contract that said they can't do that. But 1989 has no cultural significance. It's a popular album full of saccharine, boys are mean but I love them anyway songs. It's ranked higher than Dr. Dre's The Chronic, the album that launched Snoop's career and changed the direction of rap in the 90s. Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, perhaps one of the most celebrated psychedelic albums of all time. The Beastie Boys' Paul's Boutique, which I would have put License to Ill on the list, but whatever. Still an album that showcased what could be done with sampling in the late 80s. 9 Inch Nails' The Downward Spiral, which brought industrial rock to the mainstream. Hell, they've even ranked more influential or more critically acclaimed pop albums lower. They put Lord's Pure Heroin, the album that kicked off the anti-pop movement, at number 96, and Lady Gaga's The Fame Monster at number 89. This is a best albums list, and it doesn't include a single album by The Who, a band who basically revolutionized the concept album. It also doesn't include Pink Floyd's The Wall, which I would also put in that category. It should be noted that Rolling Stone put 1989 at number 393 on its list of the greatest albums, above Motorhead's extremely influential British steel classic Ace of Spades? You what, mate? The rest of Apple's top 10 looks like this. Michael Jackson's Thriller at number 2. It's an insane album without a single skip or piss break. It's so good, it almost makes you forget the old joke about him and Kmart both having boys' underwear half off. The Beatles' Abbey Road at number 3, of course. Prince's Purple Rain at number 4. Frank Ocean's Blonde at number 5. Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life at number 6. Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City at number 7. A lot of people are wondering why it outranks To Pimp a Butterfly. Amy Winehouse's Back to Black at number 8. Want to be mad at me? I think Amy is overrated, and if she had lived, no one would care about this album. There, I said it. Number 9 is Nirvana's Nevermind. Want to be mad at me? What I just said about Amy? Swap her name for Kurt's. And Beyoncé's Lemonade rounds out the top 10. Radiohead fans will be annoyed that OK Computer was number 12, and Rolling Stone's choice for the greatest album of all time, Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, is number 17. That's right, it's just slightly better than Taylor Swift according to Apple, and not as good as Adele's 21, which ranked above it at number 15. Again, this is the definitive list, says Apple. No. This is rage bait and a cry for attention. This is like BAFTA's list of the most iconic video game characters of all time, putting Lara Croft over Mario, or Shadowheart from Baldur's Gate 3, I can hear you saying, who? Through your computer, over Solid Goddamn Snake. You get people angry, you get people talking. When they announced the Taylor entry on Twitter, where they did all the entries at first, it got 32 million views, 67,000 likes, 6,000 comments. Compare that to any of their regular posts, like this one about Black Music Month and jazz that got less than 200 likes, or an interview with Lenny Kravitz that got 500 likes. Enrage 'em and engage 'em. But when you do this, you run the risk of damaging your credibility. Apple, you're a music service. Well, you primarily sell shitty phones and dumb headgear to sycophants, but you're also a music service. When you show everyone that you don't really know anything about music, people go, wait, is this what they think is the best? Is this what they're gonna push to me when I use their service? Oh, no thank you. You know what makes this list even funnier? Apple basically revolutionized the idea of not buying albums. iTunes changed the game in the late 2000s and early 2010s, completely crippling album sales. Why would I pay $20 for one song I like and a bunch of stuff I don't care about when I can just buy that one song I want for 99 cents? And then Spotify came along and said, why buy any music when you could just listen to every single song in the world for $10 a month or free with ads? And now, Spotify has 239 million paid subscribers. Apple Music has nearly 3 times fewer at 88 million. And that's what this whole list is about. A, desperately shouting for someone to notice them like a drowning kid at the public pool. And B, a very thinly veiled promotion to sell subscriptions. Oh, so conveniently, there's a link to Listen on Apple Music at the top and bottom of every entry. But iTunes and Apple Music aren't the music services anymore. They used to be. They used to be the Kleenex of online music. Now, Spotify is the Kleenex, and Apple Music runs the risk of being the puddle of jizz that Kleenex is mopping up. How's that for definitive?